What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you a look at my next 10 or so reviews, following, of course, all of the games and announcement shows that happen at the beginning of June. This is a type of video I like to make every couple of months just to let people know what the plan is, but in this particular case it is a little different than usual, and that is because, as people may well remember, towards the beginning of April, I put out a video basically explaining that at the ripe old age of 33, I am going to college for the first time, and my classes for that start on August 19th. So the next time we talk about this, at the very least, things will be slightly different schedule-wise, but I'm still kind of feeling out how that is ultimately going to work. And so I am trying to pack plenty of things over the next couple of months for us to talk about and see, some of which will be new releases, some DLC, plenty of older titles as always, and truth be told, plenty of games that won't be proper reviews, but simply taking a look at upcoming stuff, etc., etc. With that in mind, however, one other important note is that I'm basically spacing this out up until Gamescom. If you are unaware, Gamescom is taking place more or less the final week of August, the 24th to the 30th, and I'm sure that during that event we'll ultimately get some final release dates for things that are happening in the winter and everything, so I wouldn't want to plan past that, which in this case mostly means that anything releasing in September is not something I am talking about here, but there are tons of games releasing in September. If anything, it looks like it's going to be an extremely busy month, but that is ultimately why I am not mentioning those games. From there, let's talk about the rest of this, kicking it off first with some DLC I know is coming out. I'm going to be doing a DLC review for the Revelations DLC for Doom the Dark Ages. Pretty excited to check that one out. That's releasing pretty soon, next couple of weeks in July actually. And then another one I wanted to mention because I know people have already been asking me about it, and that is actually the Fangs of Asterkarn DLC for Grim Dawn. This one's a little different because while I am going to make a video about Grim Dawn when that DLC drops, because I've been waiting for it for a long time, I have never played Grim Dawn. People have been wanting me to take a look at it for years, and I've been waiting on this DLC for a long time, only for them to turn around and finally drop a release date for it after like 2 years, when my schedule is less than great for it. So I will take a look at Grim Dawn when that DLC launches finally, but trying to review that is going to be a longer term project, and even then I don't know if it will be 100% due to the nature of some of the goals that will be in place there. I just wanted people to know that it's on my radar. I saw the release date announcement finally. I've got it. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about the new releases. So in the next couple of months, there are 4 new releases up until September that I have my eyes on, and one of them is pretty close by, and I've already taken a look at it via a demo already, and this is actually called The Adventures of Elliot Millennium Tales, which is a terrible name for a game that is actually pretty intriguing from Square Enix & Co. Using their HD 2D graphics style. It is a game that is very much in line with like some of the older Zelda titles, and I made a video on that demo like I mentioned. People really liked that video. It did surprisingly well. I enjoyed playing the game, and it just seems silly not to review this one. This is releasing on the 18th. I do not currently have a review key, nor am I expecting one until the release day. Square Enix in particular loves to give me a review key on release days for some reason, but regardless of whether they do or do not, I will be buying that to play through it and review it just because I liked the demo well enough. Moving on from that, the next new title is actually going to be Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which I suppose you could say is technically an old title, but as people may well remember, I made a commitment to going through the older Assassin's Creed games and just trying to see what more of that franchise was about, as I've only played a handful of them. And the one that by far the most people recommended was Black Flag, and lucky me that they turn around and announce the big remake for July 9th. So that will be a review that I jump in on and check out. Pretty excited to play that one and see what it's all about. Our next new release is Beast of Reincarnation from Game Freak. This is out on August 3rd, and it is the same Game Freak that, yes, makes all of the Pokemon games, this time making a game that is seemingly different but a little bit the same. We play a young woman trying to fight off a blight, I guess you could call it, that is ravaging the world, and she also has this sort of animal-esque companion, which, let's be honest, is the Pokemon in the Game Freak situation here. But I'm really more than anything just interested to see what Game Freak could do outside of Pokemon, which is literally the entire reason I'm going to review this game. I've simply got to know what they're going to do here, and we'll see how it pans out, of course. And then the last game that I'm for sure reviewing in the next time period is launching launching on August 27th, right before the September rush, or in some ways the start of it, and that is Star Wars Zero Company. This is a sort of XCOM-like game set in the Star Wars universe that has looked promising the more and more that I have seen it, and I've made a couple videos to that effect if you want more information. But because of all of that, I am especially intrigued to see how this one pans out, and I'm going to be all over this. In fact, I was initially planning to review XCOM 2 at the end of summer, so what I'm going to do here is simply swap one of those for the other, which in this case is Zero Company. But that then brings us to the older titles I want to review. Some interesting ones here, starting first with the one I've mentioned several times actually, which is Pillars 1 and 2. I initially wanted to re-review Pillars 2 around my birthday at the end of May, as I've been looking to simply redo that video because it was one of my very first reviews, and the quality is not great, and I have since actually completed the Ultimate for Deadfire, and it makes a lot of sense to just revisit that, and also I simply want to play it for myself. But in going to do that, the turn-based beta for Pillars of Eternity 1 finally hit the live version, and so I want to, of course, check that out as well. And so I'm not doing a full re-review for Pillars 1, but what I'm going to do relatively soon, actually, as we wait for new releases outside of the Adventures of Elliot, is play through Pillars 1 with the new turn-based turned on completely, while also playing through the game and making a save file that I can then transfer into Pillars 2 just for some added fun for myself for that re-review. As I know what I need to know about Pillars 2 already at this point, I simply need to gather footage, and I'm just trying to make that as fun of an experience for myself as possible. And while that might sound like a lot because of my familiarity with them, that is realistically only going to take a couple of days once it has my full attention, and hopefully you'll see that Pillars 1 turn-based review within the next week or so if all goes well. Following on from that, however, I also want to review Alan Wake 2. So one of those busy September games coming is Control Resonant. I want to get caught up with the entire series before Control Resonant pops out, and I have already played Control some years ago. That was also one of my first reviews. Not the best in terms of quality either, but I have no plans on re-reviewing that one. I did, however, go back and play the first Alan Wake since then, and I want to finish that up with Alan Wake 2 before Control Resonant pops out, so I'm just kind of up to date fully on the series and story, and can comment appropriately. Also, Alan Wake 1 was surprisingly fun. I've heard tremendous things about Alan Wake 2, and so I'm pretty excited to play it, even if I do have to go to the Epic Store to do so. Either way, that will be coming relatively soon. I understand it's not a super long game, so hopefully that review won't take super long either. But then for the next two titles, we are kicking it old school, so to speak, with both Redguard and then Battlespire, which I'm going to lump into one here for no reason at all. Starting with Redguard. The Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard is a bizarre game in that its gameplay is pretty terrible and the story is surprisingly good. It's a game I have wanted to cover on the channel for quite some time, and I am simply going to make time to do so. It won't necessarily take a ton of time, however, because the game itself is not very long. The trick with Redguard is that it runs very, very poorly. And also, the gameplay elements, as I mentioned, have hardly stood the test of time, and they weren't that great when the game launched. Nonetheless, though, this is the type of obscure older title that I genuinely love to cover. And like I said, I simply want to cover it on the channel, and it is time to do so. Doubly so for Battlespire. Now, Battlespire is an interesting game as well because it leans much more heavily into like the action dungeon crawler aspect than the games that had come previously, as opposed to this 1997 release. And it's another situation where the gameplay and the technical state of it are not exactly standing the test of time, and yet for the life of me, there is something just weirdly compelling about Battlespire that makes it pretty fun to play for me. And luckily, it is also not super long, and it's another older game where I feel like a comprehensive old review retrospective type thing for it could do some good for somebody, maybe, I guess, but it's mostly just going to be fun for me, I admit, and it's, again, just something I wanted to do. And so, here we are. And then, last but not least, keeping up with the Bethesda titles, I suppose, people may well have heard me mention here or there that I've been planning on reviewing Fallout 76. Now this is a little different because Fallout 76 is of course a multiplayer focused game, and I really don't care much about multiplayer games in any capacity, and so I can say with absolute certainty that this video will not be a 100%, even if I get all of the achievements or whatever else, just because of the nature of the online portion of the game, it wouldn't make any sense. And yet at the same time, after all these years have passed, I've played through through all of the other Fallout games, it simply feels incomplete of me to not have much of an opinion on Fallout 76 because I have played not a lot of it, frankly. I think legit like maybe 2 hours. And so this summer, I finally just want to like take some time to sit down, run through this game, see what it's all about, and share my opinion on it several years late and long after its time in the main spotlight, as is my usual MO, it would seem. Either way though, I do think that just about does it for everything I wanted this particular video to cover. As always, there may well be some curveballs and things thrown in there along the way that I will adjust to accordingly, but this is the rough layout for the upcoming summer months. With that in mind, certainly hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you're looking forward to any of these reviews. If so, by all means, like, comment, subscribe, let me know all about it down in the comment section below. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.